Okay, let's make sure that we got things in order here. And keep me on track. He's coming right back. You which? Okay, well, we're waiting for Dwight. Good evening. I'll call the meeting to order. And our first order of business this evening is to have Pastor Les Fisher from the Full Gospel Church to give us a blessing.
Bow your head with me, please. Heavenly Father, we just thank you tonight for our town of Strathmore and surrounding communities. Ask, Father, tonight that you would give us patience for understanding and vision and planning, but at the same time, expertise. Father, this requires leaders to be in touch with their local communities with knowledge of priorities and with a love and passion for the people and work involved. We ask you tonight that you relieve the challenges and obstacles that cause delays and impart to our leaders the ability to make progress, inspire, and motivate people. Jesus Christ was the greatest example of love and compassion. He walked among the people, he taught, he loved, and took personal interest in their lives. We pray that our leaders will experience that kind of servant leadership in their own lives. Father, we thank you for each of them. We ask your blessing upon the mayor and his family, on our deputy mayor, committee chairs, members of council, staff, and that they will bring a strong and principled leadership to the community of Strathmore. We bless their families as they balance their responsibilities between home and public office. Father, not only do the residents of this community look to them for leadership, but their actions are open to observation provincially and sometimes internationally. We pray that our leaders will be mindful of their integrity and that they accept their responsibilities with sincerity. May they always realize exactly what it means to be in a position of influence. And may their character and honesty help enhance the vision of Strathmore. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Fisher. Our first order of business tonight is a public hearing, and we'll call that to order. Purpose of bylaw is to amend the land use designation for Lot 8, Block 1, Plan 9711726, which is 3 Center Street, from an R2 low-density residential district to an R2X medium-density attached housing district. And can we have the development officer that will be representing this step forward, please? And I would ask if you would give confirmation of the notices.
Thank you, Your Worship. A public notice concerning this bylaw was published in the Strathmore Times on the 19th and 26th of September, and a written notification in the form of a letter was mailed to 31 landowners. These landowners own property which directly adjoins the subject property or would adjoin it except by reason of an intervening roadway, or in this case, the canal. And in addition, landowners one lot removed from the adjoining landowners were also notified.
Thank you. And may we have the development officer's report?
Yes, Your Worship. With your permission, I would like to also address the applicant's submission, Mr. Kevin Munchroth, as well as the adjacent landowner's response, since it forms part of my report.
That'll be fine, sure. Thank you.
As noted, the subject property is located at 3 Center Street, and the applicant has submitted an application to rezone this property or redesignate it from R2 to R2X. The property is just a little over a half an acre, 0.58 acres to be exact, and it adjoins the WID Canal to the east. The adjoining lands North of the subject property are designated R2, while the lands directly west are designated R3 apartment district as shown on the overhead. It's notable that the current R2 designation allows semi-detached housing, i.e. side-by-side duplexes, as well as duplexes, which are normally considered up-down or stacked. And both the duplexes and the semi-detached dwellings in the current R2 district are permitted uses. It's also notable that the maximum allowable density in the R2 district works out to 42 units per hectare. That is a side-by-side duplex on a 50-foot lot or half a duplex on a 25-foot lot, which works out to 42 units per hectare. As noted, the R3 designation allows apartments and attached housing as permitted uses. I've already talked about the notification of the public hearing, so I will touch on the applicant's submission, which is included in your agenda package out. And I will, since it's short and concise, I'll just read it out. The owners of the subject property, K&J Munchrath, submitted a letter outlining the reasons for requesting rezoning of their property. The reasons are stated below. We are presently on a very large and unique lot, approximately 0.6 of an acre, which borders the canal and is a perfect fit for this type of housing. We are presently surrounded by medium density housing. To the south of our property is the Ranch Estates Mobile Home Park. Directly west is R3 zoned housing, and to the north of our property is R2 and attached dwellings. The town is in need of this type of affordable housing, and our property would be a perfect location for this type of housing in our neighborhood. At the present time, no development permit application has been submitted for the subject property, but the landowner and the applicant have submitted some supporting information in the form of a site plan and elevation drawings, which are included in your agenda package. As noted, attached housing is a permitted use in the proposed R2X district, and that's what's being proposed here. A development permit will be required, and staff will ensure that the requirements of the bylaw are complied with. The maximum allowable density in this district, in the proposed district, is 55 units per hectare. The proposed density in this site plan is 51. A key point is that the recently adopted land use bylaw requires 1.5 parking stalls per dwelling unit plus 0.15 stalls per unit for visitor parking. This is an increase from the previous bylaw, which required 1 parking stall per dwelling unit and no visitor parking. Note that the required parking is required to be off-street and on the site. This site plan shows that the site can accommodate at least 20 off-street parking stalls, which would meet the bylaw requirements of 1.5 per unit plus the visitor. It's also notable that in this area here, where I've got my little hand waving, it would be possible to cut that out, squeeze in a few more parking stalls if it was considered urgent or desirable to do so. But for now, these areas here, as well as this area back here, enable some snow to be moved if necessary, and it probably will be necessary. Another notable feature of this site plan is that there is one entrance and exit to this site from Center Street. So that means that people drive into the site and they drive out of the site. They don't back onto Center Street like a lot of the R2 development with the large driveways. I'd like to just, before I touch on this roadway classification and traffic impact section on page 2 of the report, I'd like to point out two clarifications and one correction. The parent document for this is the Town of Strathmore Master Servicing Study Annexation 2006, and the map on the wall of my office. That map shows Centennial Drive as East Lake Road, and it also shows Archie Claver Trail as East Ridge Road. So that's why my report refers to those. And in the third paragraph in section 4, where it says that a traffic count was taken, it was actually taken at Parkwood Crescent, not Parkland Drive. So with that in mind, the town's roadway classification system is based on this Town of Strathmore Master Surfacing Study, Annexation 2006, prepared by what used to be called UMA, and it's now called ACON. This classification system, in turn, is based on a guiding document commonly referred to as the TAC Manual, which classifies roadways based on their function, design, and capacity to convey traffic. And roadways in descending order of capacity include freeways, expressways, arterials, collectors, and local roads. Center Street from Centennial Drive on the north to Archie Cliver Trail on the south is classified as a collector roadway. This type of roadway is intended to accommodate up to 8,000 vehicles per day and collects and distributes traffic between local streets and arterials. A local street, by comparison, accommodates up to 1,000 vehicles per day. On Monday, September 22nd and Tuesday, the 23rd, a traffic count was undertaken on Center Street, just north of the intersection with Parkwood Crescent. The estimated traffic volumes on Center Street were 1,700 vehicles per day on the Monday and 2,270 vehicles on the Tuesday. The construction of 12 additional dwelling units will add between 78 vehicles per day to 100 vehicles per day to the traffic volumes on Center Street, which has the effect of increasing volumes by 4.4 to 6%, assuming that the 12 units will generate the higher vehicle per day. Now, that's the total, assuming that we build the 12 units. But it's important to keep in mind that the current R2 designation potentially allows a maximum of 9 dwelling units. This number of dwelling units could be accommodated, for example, in 4 duplexes or 4 semi-detached dwellings, or some combination thereof, plus 1 single detached dwelling. The irregular shape of this parcel, and I think that's pretty obvious from looking at it, makes that very, very difficult to achieve that maximum density. And I believe, based on our review, that it's pretty certain that we could get six dwelling units on there. You can't get an odd number because a duplex or a semi-detached by definition have 2 dwelling units, so you're going in multiples of 2. But it's pretty certain that we could do 6 and possibly 8 dwelling units. Assuming that we do a 6, this incremental increase in dwelling units between what is allowed in R2 and what is allowed in R2X is 6 dwelling units. And this additional number of dwelling units has the corresponding effect of having an incremental increase in traffic on Center Street that would add between 39 to 50 vehicles per day, or an increase of about 2 to 3% compared to what's allowed under the current zoning. The report and our investigation suggests, based on this report, that traffic volumes on Center Street are expected to increase as the community continues to grow, but this increase is largely due to the function of the street rather than the development along it. And we are proposing to conduct additional traffic counts along Center Street to obtain a larger sample of the daily traffic, recognizing we only took traffic samples for 2 days. At the present time, there are no servicing constraints that preclude the reclassification of the subject property from R2 to R2X. And it is a policy of our recently adopted municipal development plan that multi-unit housing should be located adjacent to collector roads and should be central rather than peripheral to the neighborhood, and should be within easy access to open space and community recreation facilities. I have 2 landowner responses that were received prior to the public hearing, and would you like me to read those into the record, or
Please.
The first letter is written by Mr. and Mrs. L.W. Green, who live at First Center Street, who state that, Dear Development Officer, it is with great concern that I write you. We are in our 80s and love to spend our time in our property at number 1 Center Street. It is beautiful and tranquil with the irrigation canal at the back of our property and mature vegetation around us. The house was bought for its location and land for us to live on through our retirement years. We have enjoyed living there for the last 6 years. The area currently is composed of single-family housing termed R2 mixed. It is a mature, settled area with a large proportion of seniors. The through traffic is quite busy already, making turning onto the street a tricky business, and that is from the single-family dwellings currently in place. Adjacent to our property, by the irrigation bridge, there is a crossing for those that enjoy walking/cycling along the canal that gets a lot of use. Adding density of population from the proposed medium-density housing with one entrance in close proximity to this crossing is creating the potential of pedestrian car accidents. Many children use this path and walk and cycle into school. Many of the citizens of the area enjoy the stroll along the side of the canal. Part of the enjoyment is from looking at the gardens and shrubs/trees in the gardens that back onto the path. I cannot believe that multifamily/medium density development would increase the enjoyment of the area, likely just the opposite. The catchphrase on the town's business cards boasts, where quality of life is a way of life. This bylaw appears not to support that value. Additional to these objections, the certain outcome is for our property value to be suppressed. The value in our home that we have worked our full lives to afford will be decreased significantly. It is a travesty that our established neighborhood should have the rezoning redesignation considered. 6 other individual properties will be directly affected as they share part of the property with this proposal. It seems to do nothing to increase the appeal of the area. We are vehemently opposed to this proposal and request that it be denied. Sincerely yours. The second letter is from the president of the Center Court South Condominium, which is directly across the street from the subject property. These folks who wrote the first letter live directly south. In the matter of the proposed subject bylaw to redesignate 3 Center Street from R2 to R2X medium density attached housing district, we, the residents of Center Court South Condominium, wish to present our concerns about this proposal. Our concerns are: 1, Center Street at this location is already a very high traffic area. A lot of Northeast and Central Strathmore residents use the street to travel to the Walmart and the Rona Mall. This road is also used by many to go to and from work in Calgary. This project would only add to the high traffic density. 2, traffic turning off and onto the subject property will clog the street and present traffic hazards. It is already very difficult to back onto the street and to the left-hand turn off of it. 3, snow removal. Where is the snow from this huge lot going to be stored? Snow removal from Center Street is already a problem. Extra street parking will aggravate this operation. Center Street to the south from Park Lane Drive to the irrigation ditch is nearly all populated by high-density residences increased noise from high-density residences would present further aggravation. Signed, Rennie Trudeau, President, Center South Condominium, as well as others, is noted in the letter. The staff recommendation in respect to this matter, based on the information submitted by the applicant, above letters and the above discussion, staff support the proposed reclassification for the following reasons. The reclassification is supported by the municipal development plan, recognizing the site adjoins a collector roadway, is centrally located, and is proximate to open space, a trail, and other facilities. The maximum allowable density in the current R2 district is 42 dwelling units per hectare. The proposed density under the R2X classification is 51 units per hectare, an increase of 20%, recognizing that the maximum density under R2 is likely not achievable given the irregular configuration of the parcel. As such, the reclassification enables more efficient use of the land and avoids underutilization. The R2 designation would allow, at most, an additional 6 dwelling units on the site. This results in a 2 to 3% increase of daily traffic volumes on Center Street. In other words, 39 to 50 vehicles per day, based on trip generation rates of either from Calgary or Lethbridge. The site plan presented by the applicant represents a workable solution for the site, recognizing that a development permit will be required and that issues such as off-street parking and snow removal have been addressed. The single access prevents vehicles from backing onto Center Street while preserving on-street parking. The development permit process will deal with landscaping, site grading, drainage, servicing, and related issues. Thank you. Oh, last but not least, all of the adjoining residential properties are designated either R2 or R3. The R3 lands on the west side of Center Street opposite the subject property contain attached housing, which is contemplated on this site. The alternatives are to retain the current R2 designation by declining second reading of this bylaw, and the recommended action is the council gives second and third reading to this bylaw following the public hearing and further consideration of other input.
Thank you. We'll likely call you back shortly to answer any questions. But before, what I would like to do is I would like to ask if anybody wishes to be heard in favor of the application. Okay. Okay, we'll get you to come forward, have a chair, and then identify yourself, please.
I'm in favor of the application. My name is Kevin Montroth, and my wife, Joy Montroth. And I guess our reasons, I'm just gonna reinforce kind of what our plans were here.
But before we start, I love what people are saying about the town and quality of life is a way of life, because part of this proposal deals with our family member who has special needs and us forming a plan for her. So I love that statement, and that was powerful to my heart in what we're trying to do here. So with that, Kevin will explain our reasons.
So I guess I'm just reinforce some of the stuff we are surrounded by that type of designation as far as zoning, but also to enlighten council and everyone else here that our plan always was to make this property unique, and because we're planning on staying here, our intent was always to stay on the property. So we would become like the property manager. So we control the environment, keep the green space. We've worked really hard. We've had numerous drawings done to kind of accommodate this project. And so in doing that, we were going to keep one of the units ourselves and then keep one for our daughter to kind of create that down the road independence for her. But still, we'd be on site, she'd be on site. But also our intentions were too that these units would be designed for basically just the size of the dwelling, probably catered more toward people that are in their retirement years, couples, or young couples that don't have children, because it doesn't lend itself to have a lot of rooms to the property. We have addressed the snow issues within the property because we've had 3 spots, and Warner had pointed out, I guess, can I do this? This area here for a snow gathering area, this area, and then this area also. So that keeps a lot of the snow off the street side. The other thing I was always concerned about was backing onto the street. Well, this way we've had that safety consideration. So every time somebody leaves our property, they're always nose first. So they never back onto the traffic. They're always aware of what's in front of them. And the other thing too, the local foot traffic that walks by, well, we back right onto a path that runs all the way down this by the canal. We would create a gate access so that people, instead of walking out in the front, walking down that sidewalk in front or where there is no sidewalk, have easy access to all the path systems in town.
So, and that was a huge part of looking at the safety, because we don't have a sidewalk in front of our house. That would definitely be a concern that we would have to address. And also keeping in mind that our daughter will be living there. So that would alleviate absolutely all, well, unless they choose to, there would be no foot traffic in front of that building unless they chose to cross the road on the sidewalk, because there is no sidewalk system. So that was something very important for us to look into too, as well. And that is provided with that pathway system right out the back door.
And the other thing too is, I mean, we've lived here for 15 years. And our intention always was, we loved our yard, we loved the trees, we loved the maturity of it. But we thought, you know what, it's a perfect opportunity to create a nice space where we could actually build a project like this, still live in the same property, still live in the space we have for 15 years, and create a nice environment. By us living there and maintaining the property, we're not going to let it get degraded and down, and beat up. It's because we want to see it beautiful just as much as everybody else.
So I think we've tried to address everybody's concerns, and we, as you can see, the integrity of the backyard is absolutely thinking about our neighbors with the green space. The way we position the places as far as privacy for all people we have a lot of very mature trees, which is
Perimeter
trees, and they are all perimeter trees, which
around this area.
is nice as well.
So we could maintain a lot of the perimeter trees within the property also. And
So yeah, we've felt like we've done our best to provide safety, integrity of neighbors, and street traffic safety with having the parking, no backing out, the footpath, the gate to access the pathway. So we've done our best to address.
and the other thing too is that a lot of the traffic, if any, is going to head south toward the major retail commercial. And the other thing too is that and the other thing too is you're promoting, if you're that accessible to all the new paths that have been built in Strathmore, we are right on the path. Like you don't even have to. You promote more people utilizing the path than you would as a single family resident, because now you have people that can actually get to all the retail, all the downtown, all the parks. We're close to the park. We're right on a pathway to our park system. So I think we've achieved kind of
what the town set out as our parameters. That's what we used as our baseline.
Yeah. And we've been working on it for a few years now to make sure we always end up with the best solution for that area. It's not like we just threw it together. We've had multiple drawings, and Andrew was going to be here tonight, but he had a baby night with his prenatal class, so he was unable to make it. But anyways, I think that's everything.
Okay. If you just pause for a second, I'll see if the council has any
Okay.
questions for you. And Councilor Peterson?
Thank you for the presentation and for the job that you've done. You said you've lived there for 15 years. And so in living there for 15 years, and as our development officer pointed out, you're on a collector roadway. Do you see the same volume of traffic on the south side of Center Street, on the south side of Park Lane Drive, that you do on the north side?
Parkland Drive to the north of us.
So what I'm asking is, do you see a huge volume of traffic on the south side of Parkland Drive in front of your property,
No, I see majority of it coming from the north.
right?
But
At the four-way stop.
Yeah.
Because it's,
there is a four-way controlled stop there too.
Yeah.
and people are heading to Walmart.
But I don't
Right.
see that huge a volume of traffic there.
The second question I have, you've lived there for a long time, and there's, we've heard some concern around the bridge that's there, that footbridge, and that increased traffic. Do you have any suggestions around what considerations might have to happen with regards to that footbridge?
You know what? I think we do have some trees before that. See, ideally,
Yeah, but no, you're coming out of the driveway, so I mean, that's not even gonna come into play. But I think just the fact that you can enter foot traffic wise, you never actually have to enter. And then actually the pathway runs to the east.
Right. So your property doesn't impact that, is what you're saying?
No.
No. Because most of the foot traffic or path will go south and it's on the east side of the road.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Sobel?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for your presentation. I apologize if you've said this already, and I may have missed it, but is it your intention to have these buildings as condominium complexes?
Yeah, like it's on a yeah, they would be within that project or in that same grouping.
But
But
the idea is
we're planning on
condominium.
staying there though. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. And are there any people that wish to be heard in opposition to the application? No person wishing to be heard in opposition? Then if we could have the development officer return in case council would like to ask some questions of the development officer. And Councillor Peterson is first.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have three questions, Mr. Fisher. The first one was with regards just some clarification around snow removal. You mentioned that snow removal is a problem on Center Street. Would snow removal that's being allowed on this property mitigate some of those factors?
I believe the way the site is being designed is not going to exacerbate any snow issues on Center Street, quite the contrary. If this property remains in an R2 zoning and we get an application for a duplex with a front driveway, we will approve it. And I believe that there is a correlation between direct access onto a roadway and the width of a driveway and the probability that that snow from that driveway is going to end up on the road. And the correlation is
right.
The bigger the driveway, the less space you have in the front yard to put your snow, the more likely it's going to end up on the road. And you get this fight between the snow truck driver and the
Right.
guy who's shoveling the road. It sort of goes back
So it
and
would
forth.
mitigate the problem.
But in this particular case, there certainly is a portion of the driveway, the access that goes onto Center Street at this. But I would anticipate that almost all of this is going to be stored on site. Secondly, any snow that is going to be plowed on Center Street is not going to be blocking anybody's driveway. So I think this is about as good as it gets.
Yeah. Thank you. My second question is, again, for clarification. On the west side of this property, you said that was zoned R3?
That's correct. I'll just go back to that map. These properties are zoned
R3, yeah,
The light brown is R2, and of course the yellow is
Right.
R1.
R1. So do you ever anticipate a time when adjoining properties to this could be also make application for R3, adjoining this particular R2X proposal?
Well, my understanding is that this application has been in the works for a couple of
Yes.
years, and there was, I think, at some point some discussion about R3, but I think staff said,
Yeah.
given some of the issues around this, I mean, although the property across the street is zoned R3, they are in fact attached housing,
Right,
which is exactly what's
What's
being
gonna go there.
proposed here.
that's what I wanted to know. And my final, I'm sorry, my final question. One of the major concerns that we've had is with regards to traffic coming on that area of Center Street and is it Park Lane Boulevard up on north of this?
Further north.
Further north.
Um,
Do any of the same concerns and considerations exist here as it is a collector road? Or in my belief, having lived in the district for a long time, most of the traffic, or a great amount of the traffic, is diverted east and west on Park Lane.
It's kind of in terms of impact on the street.
Yes,
it's
that's
a
what I
bit-
want to know.
If we accept the proposition that this has less traffic than the area to the north,
Mhm.
then an incremental 6 dwelling units will have a greater impact in percentage.
I see. Yeah, I understand.
And if this road's carrying 4,000 vehicles a day, hypothetically, double
Right.
what it is now,
Yeah.
an additional 6 dwelling units is going to be almost imperceptible.
Imperceptible.
I would say that our traffic count suggests about 2,200 vehicles per day north of here. From what I've seen in here, it's not going to change that much, but that's why we said one of the reasons we've said we have a small sample size of only 2 days. We'd like to get a few more and look at the street a little more carefully. Does that answer your question?
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Gill?
Thank you, Your Worship. Question through the chair. Are you confident, your department's confident that the snow collection places they have will be enough for that area? Is there a way to tell? Like they have areas designated for snow collection. Are we able to tell if that'll be enough to hold it? And I guess the other thing is, if it isn't, would they be trucking away snow then?
I think there is ample room for somebody who's reasonably proficient at removing snow from this property to have lots of place to put the snow.
Okay.
If they're not proficient and they don't have the right kind of equipment, personally, this is not a job for a couple of kids with a snow shovel.
Yeah.
Bobcat at the minimum.
Okay.
You know.
And my second question is along Center Street there, that space between Center Street and the 3 decks, is that like front lawn kind of
I'm sorry.
situation? If you're looking at your diagram of the,
Oh,
of the
site
6
plan?
units.
Let me just go there.
So yeah, I'm just looking at Center Street, between Center Street and the 3 decks in
Yeah.
the first 3 units. Is that okay?
The
Green space.
Green space.
It's either
Landscape.
the front yard or the backyard, depending on how you look at it. These buildings do, although this is technically the back of the building based on the elevation drawings,
Mhm.
this is what the back of the building facing Center Street will look like. And that will be front lawn, rear lawn, plus boulevard, and then the street.
Okay, thank you. Those are my 2 questions.
Councilor Walz?
Your worship, to our director. A couple questions. On number 8 there in the staff recommendations, I note it says maximum allowable density in R2 is 42 dwelling units per acre. Then it sounds down a little further that R2X class reclassification is 51 units per acre. I guess if the applicant is putting in 6, then why are we redesignating this?
Well, I think there's a misunderstanding there.
Okay, thank you.
The maximum density in R2 is in fact 42 units per hectare because it allows duplexes, side-by-side duplexes, semi-detached dwellings. You put one of those on a 50-foot lot, it works out to 42 units per hectare. This particular development pans out at 51, right? But we're not adding 6 units, we're adding 12. But we're adding about 6 more, maximum of 6 more than what we could have under R2. So there's an incremental increase. Total number is 12, right? Because these are stacked, right? But you could do at least 6 under R2, and so the proposed density is 51. The maximum allowable density in R2X is 55. So we're pretty close.
So you're talking about people per
Units per hectare.
Okay.
Dwelling units per hectare.
And then my next question would be just some more clarification. A little further down there, it says under R2X is likely not achievable. So is it actually achievable on that site then?
Well, what I'm saying, yeah, and I can say pretty emphatically that I don't think you can get 9 units on here. That would be the maximum allowable at 42, right, would be 9. I've played with it. I've cut some stuff out and I've moved it around, and you can't do 9 in my opinion. You can do 6 and you might be able to do 8, but looking at it as a worst case scenario, it's an additional 6, not an additional 4. And I've looked at it more as a worst case scenario as a best case scenario.
Thank you, Your Worship.
No? Okay. Councillor Rempel?
Yeah, through the chair to Werner. This, I gather this is going to be end up as a dryland condominium.
I'm not sure if it'll be a Bearland condominium. My suspicion is
sorry.
that it would be a building condominium, that the owner may want to speak to that. But a Bearland condominium would involve subdividing. What that would involve is actually creating some lot. A Bearland condominium looks like say a cul-de-sac, right? You will still have lot and house, and then the street will be condominium, common property. I would expect that all of this open space, including the parking lot, will be common property. And really what you're doing is just condominiumizing the buildings, so Bearline condominium is a subdivision. A building condominium is not. Does that make sense?
I believe it probably does. So the town is not responsible for maintaining anything within that condominium site.
Whether it is a conventional condominium or a Bearline condominium, we're not assuming ownership of the parking lot or the road.
Or
Kind of
garbage collection or
Garbage collection.
street sweeping or whatever.
Yeah, if we assume the ownership of the parking lot, then we wouldn't have off-street parking.
Thank you.
No further questions? And, I'm sorry, Councillor Blokman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through the chair to our director, I think the applicants have addressed the snow removal quite handily. Obviously, if we're looking back to last winter, I'm hoping that's a 1 in 100 year winter. I believe they've looked after that area pretty well. The one, just out of curiosity, the 31 landowners listed in here, they're part of that Center Court South condominium?
No, I'll try and explain this by going to the air photo we contacted everybody that directly adjoined, right? Like that property adjoined, that property adjoins, that property adjoins, that property adjoins. We also contacted people who would adjoin, except by reason that there's an intervening street, in this case Center Street, or the WID Canal. So we also contacted the owner of Mobile Home Park. And then we went one property beyond that. So in other words, we contacted those people, and I resume that. I've seen the map, it's in the file somewhere.
Yeah,
But that was, as per previous council meeting, we decided to go at least one further.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions? Mr. Fisher, then would you have any further closing comments that you wish to make?
No, recommendation stands.
Okay. And so the recommendation stands, and I would ask for a motion.
Your Worship, I would move that we adjourn the public hearing.
Well,
Close the public hearing, sorry.
yeah, we don't want it to come back.
Sorry, I stand corrected.
That's okay, I would have accepted it, I'm sure. We have a motion on the floor to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And carried. And thank you.